Alright guys, so apologize for not videoing the entire installation of this ICT Billet bracket. I ran out of memory on my memory card. But as you can see here, I got the ICT Billet bracket fully installed and the belt routed. The belt was probably the simplest serpentine belt I've ever done. I was pretty surprised. The bracket wasn't too bad. There was a couple pain points. Let's see. So in the instructions, what you'll see is there's two last pieces of hardware that get installed after you route the belt. One of them is the spacer down there, that shorter one, and then this longer spacer. So you don't want to make the mistake that I did, which is go ahead and tighten these down pretty snug, because it reduces the space in between the bracket and the engine block, and you can't fit that small spacer in, so you got to kind of back off or just snug up these nuts and screws. Let's see. Other than that, I think the only other pain point was this longer spacer right there. So as you can see, there's what ICT is doing is utilizing a lot of the unused locations, blind hole locations, and one of them being the blind hole that's in that cylinder head back there. And what that's used for is, okay, so what you can see here, this is a bracket. This bracket serves two purposes. One is if you still have the bat wing stock slash OEM air intake tube with that resonator in it, the Helmholtz resonator, this tab here is a piece that the air tube goes onto. Now, obviously, since I got rid of mine and replaced the air rate, I didn't need this anymore. But the other thing it's used for is this hole here. It's used for the alternator. Probably can't see it down there, but there's the alternator electrical connection. There's a black Christmas tree tab on that, and that is secured into this bracket. So that's the only thing that essentially this bracket was being used for. Luckily, that cable's got enough tension in it where it's not going to be flopping around, but I might try to zip tie it somewhere later on. But for right now, I'm going to call it good. But the other thing is so you have one screw, which is in that cylinder head. That's about the only thing that fastens this on there. And to keep this thing from torquing, there's this tab here, and this goes into the blind hole that you're going to be using for that spacer. So basically, you have to use that. So you're going to have to get rid of this bracket. I think the majority of the people are going to be doing this probably don't have the stock batwing air intake tube, so that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, this will be gone, and then you just use that for that spacer. Now the other just frustration point was down here on the heater hoses that go into the water pump. The way, and this is going to be obviously different for every vehicle depending on how they did it at the factory, but the ears on those are facing totally vertical, so it was 90 degrees to the spacer, and it was causing interference. So I could not get the holes to line up, so I had to just get a pair of pliers and twist those about, I don't know, 30 degrees or so out of the way, so I can get the spacer in there. And now the other thing is that's a really long threaded stud that you put in there, so it is going to take some maneuvering to get that in there, but it does fit. So you have one problem where you can't come in through the back here because you have your fans back there where I can't see them very well, and so the bolt or that threaded rod will hit these fans, so you can't come in through the front here. Basically, I had to come in through the back side of the adapter and kind of angle it about like this, and that took a little bit of finesse to get, because you have the spacer that's going to be aligned, and then you got this angled threaded rod you're trying to get in there. But look at the diameter of the hole inside that spacer is large enough where you can work it. It'll work out for you. So it looks like it's not going in. Just fiddle around with it, and you'll get it working. So other than that, everything turned out really good. It's on there pretty solid. I was worried about one of these fasteners, this one down here at the very end, because that one replaces one of the water pump bolts. But I did put a vacuum on the system, the coolant system, and let it hold a vacuum, and it hasn't been leaking, so I don't think it's going to cause any leak issues. But I also did put, as you guys saw probably before my video cut out, I did put thread lock in all these, so that might provide some help. So yeah, I think other than that, that's it. It's pretty easy to put on. ICT did a really good job with all the clearances. It clears the idler and clears the crank pulley down there pretty good. Got pretty good clearance on the belts. The routing, like I said, is pretty simple. As for the torquing, so there is torque specifications that I use from the service manual for the L83 truck, and ICT doesn't provide any. I was kind of worried about the amount of stress that I was going to put on these threaded rods here, because one of these is like 85 or 43 foot-pounds, and another one's, I think the water pump is in inch-pounds. So I just torqued them all down to I didn't want to have varying different torques on each one of these fasteners, so I just used one torque for all of them, which I believe was around 20 foot-pounds for all of them, meaning the threaded rods and screws that have spacers in them. So pretty excited. It's actually looking like it almost assembled now. So yeah, I think I'll keep it short to that. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.